Shalom, shalom. Back for another video. And today I'm just going to be reading a story out of the Apocrypha. And this story is called Bel and the Dragon. Alright, and this is it's pretty much just going to be a story about keeping faith in the face of adversity. Alright, we're going to see where Daniel was put back into the lion's den a second time because he stood strongly for the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the story, but first and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Akakwadash. Next, double honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of Great Millstone who teach and who rule well. Peace, blessings, and safety to all you sincere Akim. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith regardless of what people hear or forbear. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And this is a short, going to be a real short video. This is entitled Bel and the Dragon. Alright, and this is found in the Apocrypha. Okay, this is an extension of the book of Daniel. Alright, we go ahead and start at verse 1. It says, "And King Astyages was gathered to his fathers, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. And Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends. Now the Babylonians had an idol called Bel." All right, Bel is short for Baal or Bel Marduk. All right, and there were spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour, and 40 sheep, and 6 vessels of wine. And the king worshipped it, and went daily to adore it. But Daniel worshipped his own power, which is Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And the king said unto him, "Why doest thou not worship Bel?" All right, once again, Bel is Baal. All right, Bel is the same as Baal, and Baal comes up many times in the scriptures as a rival, an idol that the children of Israel worshipped falsely multiple times, and it brought the Lord, it kindled his anger against the children of Israel. All right, so this was actually, matter of fact, I'm just gonna pull up some quick information on Baal. All right, okay, so let's see. I'm in here at Google. I'm typing who is Baal. All right, so it says in the Bible, Baal is the name given to several different deities who are designated as false gods or idols. However, it is most often used to describe the specific Canaanite Phoenician god of fertility and rain. Alright, so there you go. And Baal comes up many times throughout the scriptures in the Old Testament when you read the accounts of the children of Israel. Alright, so this is a Canaanite deity, but also used as kind of a catch-all for different false idols and gods. Alright, so let's go back. Bel and the Dragon, and let's see, I'm at verse Salakia. Alright, I'm at verse, I'll read that verse 4 again. "And the king worshipped it, and went daily to adore it. But Daniel worshipped his own God. And the king said unto him, Why doest not thou worship Bel? Who answered and said, Because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living God, who hath created the heaven and the earth, and hath sovereignty over all flesh. Then said the king unto him, Thinkest thou not that Bel is a living God?" So the king is saying, like, you don't believe in my false idol, you don't believe in my false God. It says, "Seest thou not how much he eateth and drinketh every day?" All right. So because it's a common practice, it's a common practice back in the old times. Once again, you'd sacrifice flesh to the god. And they did the same thing with Yahweh, but also back in those days, people would they would sacrifice to their pagan deities. Okay, and they would offer up burnt offerings, and they would put animals and stuff to be quote unquote eaten by their idols. All right, so the king is saying, do you not see how much he eats and drinks every day? All right, Verse 7, then Daniel smiled and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within and brass without, and did never eat nor drink anything. So he's telling the king, your false god is never eating, never drinking. It's all figment of your imagination. All right. So the king was wroth. Wroth means he was filled with fierce anger, and called for his priests and said unto them, if ye tell me not who this is that devoureth these expenses, ye shall die. So the king, he calls in his priests, and he says, well, the prophet Daniel is telling me that Baal is a false idol, it's a false god. He doesn't eat nor drink. So you tell me who's the one that's eating and drinking these sacrifices that I've been putting up. All right. It says verse 9, but if ye can certify me that Baal devoureth them, that he eats the sacrifices, then Daniel shall die, for he hath spoken blasphemy against Baal. And Daniel said unto the king, let it be according to thy word. Okay, so Daniel, he's not even in fear. Like, he's kind of mocking, he's kind of laughing. He's saying, your false idol, he don't eat, he don't drink. You know what I'm saying? That's all he is. He's an idol, man. He don't exist. All right. It's a working of your own hands. It's a working of your imagination. All right. And the king is saying, okay, well, let's see, I'm gonna read that again. But if you can certify me that Baal devoureth them, if you can verify that Baal is the one that's actually eating and drinking these sacrifices, then I'm gonna kill Daniel because he's committing blasphemy against my false god. All right. Verse 10. Now the priests of Baal were 70. Okay, so score is 20. So there were 70 different priests of Baal, beside their wives and children. And the king went with Daniel into the temple of Baal. So Baal's priest said, lo, we go out. But thou, O king, set on the meat and make ready the wine, and shut the door fast, and seal it with thine own signet. Okay, so the priests are telling him, go ahead and put the food there, do everything that you got to do, right? And tomorrow, when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Baal hath eaten up all, we will suffer death, or else Daniel that speaketh falsely against us. So he said, go ahead and put the food in the temple, and and tomorrow in the morning, if you find that the food is still there, then Daniel has spoken lies, and we're gonna, you can kill him. But if the food is not there, then that means that Baal has actually eaten it. Yeah, so like I had that backwards. If the food is not there, then that means that Baal has actually eaten it, and Daniel's spoken lies, and you can kill him. If the food remains, that means that we're lying, and you can kill us. That's what the priests of Baal are saying. All right. So it says, verse 13, and they little regarded it, for under the table they had made a privy entrance, whereby they entered in continually and consumed those things. So the priests, they knew that they had already set up looked like a little trap door where they were coming in, and they were the ones that were eating all the food and drinking all the drink. All right. So they weren't worried about it. They had in their mind, well, we just gonna go in like we always do and eat the food and drink the drink because no one knows that we're doing this, right? So we're gonna fool the king, and we're gonna get the prophet Daniel killed. All right. It says, verse 14. So when they were gone forth, the king set meats before Baal. Now Daniel had commanded his servants to bring ashes, and those they strewed throughout all the temple, in the presence of the king alone. Then went they out and shut the door and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. So Daniel, he knew that the false priests of Baal, were gonna come in, and they were gonna eat the food and drink the drink. So what he did is he had his servants set up ashes all around the temple, so that when the priests came in there, that they would get all dirty with the ashes, and it would be apparent that they were the ones that went into the temple. All right. So that's what they did. They set the ashes all around the temple. They closed the doors, locked it up, and now they're going to wait the next morning for the results. All right. So let's see what happens. It says, verse. Let me see. Where was I at? Verse 15. Now in the night came the priests with their wives and children, as they were wont to do, and did eat and drink up all. So in the night, the priests, as they always did, they came and they ate up the food and drank the drink. In the morning, but time, the king arose, and Daniel with him. All right. And the king said, Daniel, are the seals whole? And he said, Yea, O king, they be whole. Okay. So they sealed the doors, and you know, the king said, hey, you know, I want you to look and see that nobody has broken these seals that I put on the doors. All right. But remember, Daniel and he had his servants set the ashes around the temple before in front of the king, when the priests were not around. All right. So when they went in there, when the priests and their families went in there, you know, they ate the food and all that. They're gonna be dirty with all the ashes. We're gonna see that. All right. It says, verse 18. And as soon as he had opened the door, the king looked upon the table and cried with a loud voice. He said, Great art thou, O Baal, and with thee is no deceit at all. Okay. Then laughed Daniel, and held the king that he should not go in, and said, Behold now the pavement, and mark well whose footsteps are these. All right. So the king, he opens the doors, right, and he sees the food and drink is gone, and he starts giving praises to Baal, right? And Daniel, he starts laughing. He says, don't celebrate so quick, all right? Don't celebrate so fast, because look at this. He said, then laughed Daniel and held the king that he should not go in. He says, just hold on for a minute, and said, Behold now the pavement, and mark well whose footsteps are these. All right. So now he says, look, take a look real quick. We set ashes all around the temple. All right, look at the pavement, and you see the footprint marks. And the king said, I see the footsteps of men, women, and children. And then the king was angry. All right, so the king, he was realizing now, he said, somebody had came in here, because the footsteps were left. You know, you can see the footsteps, you can see the footprints in the ashes. So he got pissed off. All right, verse 21. And took the priests with their wives and children who shewed him the privy doors, where they came in and consumed such things as were upon the table. Okay, so then Daniel, he exposed it all. He's like, look at these footprints, and they got a little trap door here. He showed the king all this, right? Therefore the king slew them and delivered Bel into Daniel's power, who destroyed him and his temple. So Daniel, he destroyed the false idol, statue, whatever it was, and the temple of Baal. All right. And in that same place there was a great dragon, which they of Babylon worshipped. And the king said unto Daniel, Wilt thou also say that this is of brass? Lo, he liveth, he eateth and drinketh. Thou canst not say that he is no living God, therefore worship him. So now he destroyed Baal and he destroyed Baal's temple, but now they're worshiping some kind of brass statue of a dragon. All right. So the king said, well, okay, so you've proven that Baal doesn't exist, but this dragon surely does. This surely is a god. All right. And then said Daniel to the king, I will worship the Lord my God, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, for he is the living God. Says, but give me leave, O king, and I shall slay this dragon without sword or staff. The king said, I give thee leave. So he said, let me depart from you. All right. And I'm going to slay this dragon. All right. Then Daniel took pitch, fat and hair, and did seeth them together, and made lumps thereof. This he put in the dragon's mouth, and so the dragon burst asunder. And Daniel said, Lo, these are the gods you worship. Okay, so the dragon was like a little statue, and he put lumps of hair in the statue's mouth. All right, and the statue, it said it burst asunder. All right, so the statue exploded. So and then he says, look, he said, these the gods that you worship? That's what he's saying to the king, right? Verse 28. When they of Babylon heard that, they took great indignation. So the people of Babylon, they were pissed off and conspired against the king, saying, the king has become a Jew, and he hath destroyed Bel, he had slain the dragon and put the priest to death. So now the people of Babylon, they're rising up against the the king, and they're saying he's taking on the customs of the Jews. So now they're coming up against the king, the people, right? I'll be done shortly. All right, thank you. So okay, cool. All right, so verse 29. So they came to the king and said, deliver us Daniel, or else we will destroy thee and thine house. Now when the king saw that they pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them. who cast him into the lion's den where he was 6 days. So this is the second time Daniel went to the lion's den. All right. And in the den there were 7 lions, and they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them to the intent they might devour Daniel. So they put him in the lion's den, and they gave they normally fed the lions a certain amount of food, and they said, we're not going to feed them that food anymore in order to make them hungry so that they'll eat Daniel. Once again, the people there were very angry. All right, they were very angry about this. So it says, verse 33. Now there was in jury a prophet called Habakkuk. All right, so we know about Habakkuk. All right, he was another prophet of the Lord. Now this is crazy. Now this is how the Lord, how he get down, how he's going to work for the elect in the end times. All right, check this out. All right, so I'm gonna read this again, verse 33. Now there was in jury a prophet called Habakkuk. So he was in a whole different city, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl, and was going into the field to bring it to the reapers. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, Go carry the dinner that thou hast into Babylon unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den. So the angel of the Lord came to Habakkuk and told him, hey, go and bring this food that you made, bring it to Daniel. He's in the lion's den, because they weren't feeding the lions and they weren't feeding Daniel either. All right. You know what I'm saying? So Daniel, he just had to be patient. He's sitting in the lion's den, and you know what I'm saying? He could be eating at any time, but he's holding on to faith. He's not giving up. And now the angel of the Lord sends another prophet to bring him a home-cooked meal. All right. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. So Habakkuk, he in a whole different city. He hadn't even been to Babylon before. All right. But listen, this is what the Lord said. Verse 36, Then the angel of the Lord took him by the crown and bare him the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his spirit set him in Babylon over the den. So it seems like he teleported him to the lion's den. And Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, Daniel, take the dinner in which God hath sent thee. And Daniel said, Thou hast remembered me, O God, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek thee and love thee. It's beautiful. So, Habakkuk had never even been to Babylon before. And the angel of the Lord guided him there, or teleported him directly to where Daniel was so that he could give him the meal. All right. So Daniel arose and did eat. And the angel of the Lord set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately. So he teleported him back. The angel of the Lord teleported Habakkuk back to where he was, or he brought him back to where he was. Now listen to this, verse 40. Upon the 7th day, the king went to bewail Daniel. When he came to the den, he looked in, and behold, Daniel was sitting. So not only did the Lord keep the lions from eating him after they had not been fed for 7 days, okay, but he also had another prophet get sent to the lion's den to bring him a home-cooked meal. See what I'm saying? So that's the kind of faith you got to have when we go into this time of trouble and tribulation. You got to have that kind of faith that the Lord is gonna, he's gonna prepare a place for us, man. In the valley of the shadow of death. All right. The king thought that Daniel was as good as dead, but he goes to the lion's den. He sees Daniel sitting there, just chilling. All right. Okay. Verse 41. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, Great art thou, O Lord, God of Daniel, and there is none other beside thee. So now the king of Babylon he's praising the Lord too. He's like, wow, man, look at the miracles that the Lord has sent for the prophet Daniel. Verse 42. And he drew him out and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den, and they were devoured in a moment before his face. Wow. I'm going to read that again. And he drew him out and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den, and they were devoured in a moment before his face. So the same ones who put Daniel into the lion den, who caused him to go into there, the king sent them in there. And as soon as they got in there, the Lord took that spirit off the lions, and the lions ate those wicked people who put Daniel in the lion's den in the first place. You see, so that's symbolic. You see, the Lord is going to deliver his elect and devour those that persecute and come against him. Okay, and we're about to see that in the last times, in the end of days. All right, we're coming to that time, man. Jacob's trouble's coming. The Lord is gonna deliver the elect with a mighty deliverance, and he's gonna devour and destroy those who persecuted us and have been persecuting us for years and years and years and centuries. All right. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. Lord willing, it edifies and uplifts the spirit to the saints wherever you may be scattered across the four corners of the earth. With that being said, before I go, as always, I got to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akakodash. Shalom.